Suicide postvention. This is where a suicide has taken place. Now, what do we do? Suicide is the most traumatic of deaths for survivors. If we look at the categories of traumatic death, I believe suicide is the absolute worst. People die from other causes. Tragic automobile accident, or they fall off a cliff, that's horrible. Somebody dies of disease, that's horrible. Somebody dies of homicide, that's terrible. But in all of those instances, the cause of death was outside of themselves. In a suicide, it's different because you know that person chose to take their own life. And we can't understand, or we will not accept, suicide. On TV, when we see somebody take their own life, there's a suicide, there's always a what? A note, suicide note. Not true. Less than 25% of people who commit suicide leave notes to explain what they did and why they did it. Less than 25%. So you may never know exactly what was in their mind. Suicide survivors have anger. We call suicide survivors not the people who survived a suicide attempt and didn't die. A suicide survivor refers to the people around that person who committed suicide, their family, their friends. They're suicide survivors. And those people are left with a lot of anger. But in our culture, because we believe that everybody who commits suicide must be mentally ill, the person who commits suicide is viewed as a victim of mental illness. And survivors, you can't blame somebody who's a victim of an illness, right? If somebody has melanoma, we don't blame them for getting melanoma. If somebody has breast cancer, we don't blame them for getting breast cancer. If somebody has pneumonia and dies, we don't blame them for pneumonia. So we think we can't affix blame or responsibility to the individual who takes his or her own life. But somebody has to be blamed. So survivors blame each other. They blame themselves. Oh, I should have taken Bill to lunch. Oh, I should have given him a call. Oh, I should have caught that sign that he was giving out. I don't know why I didn't see it. I was blind. Or they blame God for the choice that that person made. And they play what I call the what-if game. What if this, or what if that? What if I'd left a message on the voicemail? What if I had actually called him again? What if I'd gone over to his house? What if? What if? What if? And we take the blame for it. That's a factor that you need to deal with in helping people. At the funeral for someone who's died by suicide, all who knew the subject are shocked and distressed by the suicide. They need comfort and they need hope. If you're responsible for planning the service for somebody who took their own life, be honest with the mourners. Do not lie. Do not mislead them. Don't hide or avoid the fact that this was a suicide. You don't have to dwell on it. Just acknowledge briefly at the outset that so-and-so took his or her own life. And say something like, well, we may not understand why he did that. Judgment belongs to the Lord. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? Genesis 18. It's not my job as a pastor. It's not my job as a chaplain. It's not my job as simply somebody who comes alongside to help to put people in heaven or hell. God does that. My job is to point them to God and let God be the judge. Go on to offer hope and life in Jesus Christ, who said, I am the resurrection and the life. Some things to say, some things that are helpful, are things like, I'm here to help you as much as I can. You won't have to face this alone. this must be incredibly hard for you. What you're describing to me, some people talk about their symptoms. I'm irritable, I'm restless, I'm up and down and all over the map. What you're describing to me sounds very normal under these circumstances. I'd be glad to help you with that, or I'd be glad to go there with you. I'll be here when you need me. I know you must feel like that. I'll pray for you. Lots of things not to say. These are things I've heard people say, or people have told me have been said to them. It must have been God's will. God has his plans. While that's ultimately true, not a hair from our head falls apart from the Father. Nonetheless, this is not the best time to talk about that. Somebody says, at least you still have another brother or another parent, child, or close friend. Or you can find another girlfriend. There are more fish in the sea. I understand. Unless you've suffered a similar loss, you really don't. Are you okay? Early on in chaplaincy, I was called out to a home where a mother and her adult daughter lived. Mother had gone out shopping. Daughter was at home. She was sick. She called 911 in panic. We responded, and she was deceased. I waited for the mom to come home to inform her of what had taken place. We went into the bedroom together. She looked at her daughter. We'd put her back in the bed. And in all good intentions, I said to her, "Are you okay?" You know what she said to me? "No, I'm not okay. What do you think? My daughter's in the bed dead. Don't you see her?" Wow, I learned. Now I ask, how are you doing? How are you doing? Gives them the chance to respond and tell you. It doesn't make any assumptions about them. Don't tell people it's okay. It'll be okay. It's not going to be okay. Life has changed forever. Don't tell people, don't talk like that. Don't tell people time heals all wounds. The pain grows less intense over time. That's true. But the pain will be there likely for the rest of their lives. Don't tell people, just pray about it. Or, you're not the only one who's gone through this, you know. Everyone has to die sometime. The Lord must have wanted him. The Lord needs more angels. Bad theology? The devil got into him and made him do it. He's not responsible for what he did. Yeah, he is. You shouldn't feel that way. Don't tell me how I should feel. You're young. You can remarry. You've just got to get over it and move on. There's a booklet that I've written. Actually, it's one of two. The second one is not published yet. My Friend is Suicidal. Deals with some of the things we've talked about tonight in terms of suicide prevention and intervention. And the next book I'm working on is on suicide postvention. A final word. We began with this. We said, let's keep our eye on it. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you'll call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. And to that I would add, as a final word, come to me. All you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 29. If you want to contact me, this is my email address, and you all have a copy of the printout. I've put a lot of stuff on the slides so that you would have that information when you get home. And you've also got now my email address and can contact me if you feel that you need to or you feel that you want to. Thank you very much.